Hello, Folktownies. We are super pumped. We're kicking off our spooky season, and we're here with Ariel Willow. It's Ariel, right?
Yes.
Okay, good. Yes. I listened to your podcast today, and I was like, I messaged everyone. I was like, it's Ariel. Yeah. Okay, guys?
It's nice to meet you, Ariel. Welcome to Folktown. I'm Deena.
I'm Dayelle.
And I'm Amanda. And we are super grateful to our producer, Grace, for reaching out to you and making this happen. She gave us a little bio on you, and I'm just going to read it to you because it's the coolest thing I've ever read. And it says, Ariel Willow, astrologer, death witch, clairvoyant medium, Norse pagan, and demonolator? Did I say that right?
Demonolator.
Ooh. Oh my gosh. So before we bombard you with the 9 million questions we have, do you just want to give us a little hello? How about you?
Sure. Yeah. Well, hello to all of your listeners. Hi, my name is Ariel Willow. I am a practicing witch. Obviously, you can see my little witchy house. I'm also a clairvoyant medium, meaning that I can see spirits, interacting with them, things like that. Been able to do it my entire life. Some of my first memories are seeing spirit. I have a podcast.
Plug it.
Own,
yeah,
plug that name, girl.
Yeah, it's called Ghost Tea. And it's basically just a podcast where I've just shared things from my own practice. I've talked with therapists and counselors on the show to talk about like the mental health stuff in relation to spirituality. So just kind of talking about like things that have to do with the spiritual realm, practice, how to navigate them, advice from people, things like that. Because I feel like there's not as much of that in the spiritual spaces. There's very niche topics. There's witchcraft, and then there's astrology, and then there's spirituality, and then there's new age, and then there's like, you know what I mean? So it's very fragmented. And I wanted to have a podcast where people could go to and just kind of get anything.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's so interesting.
Well, we're big on folklore here, and obviously witches are a staple in folklore. So what's your favorite witch story?
Or the one you love to dispel the most?
There you go.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
that. I
So,
actually like that one better. I'm big on
So
dispelling
myths or,
stereotypes
like,
and things
assumptions
like
about
that.
witches.
Sure, we
Yeah.
could dive into that.
Okay. That witches are like the ones in Harry Potter, and you know, like very dramatic. And okay, here's the thing. So a lot of the portrayals of witches that we have seen in media is actually rooted in anti-Semitism. So it's hard because I think a lot of people have these ideas of what a witchcraft practice looks like or what a witch looks like. You know, we have the examples in The Wizard of Oz of like the green witch with the big nose and like the warts and I'll get you, my pretty. And then there's like the Harry Potter type of witches where it's like, you know, more relatable for people because they don't look different than a lot of people we know or things like that. We're better able to relate to it. But then there's the problematic sides beyond the story itself. It's like the source of where it's from. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's hard because I think people's assumption about witches and witchcraft is just based on what we know, but a lot of what we know is just not accurate.
Shocking.
I know. Crazy concept. But I think the best way that I can explain it is if witchcraft is anything other than a practice that connects you to yourself and the world, then it's not witchcraft.
Mm-hmm. I love that.
Because that's what it's really for. Like, it's to help us connect with our communities. It's to help us to navigate our lives and feel like we have a sense of control when in reality, we probably don't have as much control over things as we want to, but it still gives us a sense of peace in the sense that we can feel that we're doing something. And if it makes a difference, then awesome.
Mm-hmm.
But if it doesn't, it's also something where at least we're able to have a physical representation of something that we're mentally doing.
I listened to the episode today, the What is Witchcraft episode. I think it was episode 71. And it's really interesting. And if you're not comfortable talking about this, of course, you can shut me up. But you talk about how you have OCD and how learning about witchcraft, how they're really similar to each other about that sense of control. And I just thought it was really interesting how you were talking about how witchcraft gave you a feeling of power after feeling so powerless in the religion you grew up in. And I thought that was so, for lack of a better term, really powerful to hear you say that.
Yeah. I feel like I'm still learning what ways I do that in my life, where I am kind of overcompensating in areas for things in my past that brought down that sense of power, right? Or that sense of worth. And I think that's something so many people are doing. And I think that's why people are drawn to witchcraft, is because it's not seeking worth outside of yourselves. It's seeking worth within. And I think that's why people are drawn to it, because I think at the root of everything, we know that's what we need to do or we want to do. But I don't think people know how to, and that's why we rely on other people to give us worth, because we don't know how to do it ourselves. So when we go through practices like witchcraft, or, you know, even other religions that people feel drawn to, it typically is something that people are able to utilize to better understand themselves and be able to find that sense of peace that helps them get through their everyday. Because life is really tough.
Yeah,
Especially lately.
I feel like that is the biggest understatement.
Yeah.
But you grew up Baptist, correct?
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about growing up Baptist, where you grew up, and kind of that conversion, leaving that church and kind of following your own path there.
Yeah. So I was, what I say, was born into Christianity, because I never knew life outside of Christianity until I was 18. And so basically just consistently went to church from the time that I was a kid, you know, a baby in a carrier, to the time that I was 18. And it was various churches, various approaches. Overall, I would say it was mostly under the Baptist umbrella of Christianity. But I also hear about people's other experiences within Baptist churches and feel that theirs were even more strict than ours. So it really depends on the church and the people in it. But for me, it was very much situations where this is men, this is women, we don't mix unless you're married. You know, women or femme presenting people with uteruses, you're meant to make babies, you're meant to make families. Men are meant to, you know, be the heads of the household and make all the decisions. And, you know, the female people are just kind of like there. And that's what I grew up with. So growing up and being taught that, like, this is your role, this is what you do, this is what is expected of you, and then being this person that's like seeing dead people all the time.
How does that go together? Oh my gosh.
Middle ground. Because I was like,
yeah, how do you explain that in a Baptist church? Like, how do you explain that to your priest?
Exactly. Like, I didn't know how to do it without it being something where, you know, someone was like, this girl needs an exorcist.
That's exactly what I was just going to say.
Did they try it?
Yeah.
They didn't. So
my... Still, that would have been a great story.
Exorcism is actually more so found in Catholicism.
Yeah.
Yes.
Christianity, in the sense of Baptist churches and even things like Mormonism and stuff, it's not as found. because it's more occult.
Yeah, that's Deena and I both grew up Catholic, and Dayelle grew up in a very Christian household.
Christian.
All since lapsed.
Yeah. It was really, it's
Yes.
interesting hearing you talk about it though, because I feel like when you grow up in a world like that, I very similar upbringing as you. I literally from birth until I was probably 17, maybe 18, and started to really open my eyes to like the real world and, you know, that I have self-worth outside of this religion. And it's fascinating because now looking back, it was a world where like their goal was to just break you and get you to a point of what they were teaching you is the only way and nothing else makes sense, nothing else matters. And it's fascinating to like hear you talk about it the same way because it's like it's so true. And I loved reading like we have some questions and stuff for you, but one of them was the fact that like how do you go from a place like that into a world of, you know, becoming a witch? And like that's fascinating to me because it seems so much about self-love instead of self-hate, and like the only purpose of you being here is to birth children and, you know, have a home and take care of the home and, you know, serve your Lord. Where this is very much like, you know, it's the earth and like, you know, just taking care of yourself and loving yourself. And yeah, I'm curious to like the fact that you also see spirits or ghosts is huge as well. Like growing up in a world where that is very much not a thing. How did you deal with that? Like, how were you as a child seeing that? It's almost like it was probably so normal for you, but I'm sure like in a world where that's not really accepted, like how did you process that and kind of like accept that what you were seeing was real
and not be terrified of it?
It was terrifying for most of my life.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that people forget when they watch my videos and content and stuff like that, because they're just like, oh, this girl is fearless. Like she can, you know, walk up to a random ET and not be afraid.
Yeah.
But it was not always not scary, and it's not always not scary. Like there are times that, you know, I'll wake up with a kid without eyes next to my bed and I'm just like come right into
Oh my God. I just got goosebumps.
Like,
Yeah, I did too. Yeah.
I mean, things like that, like you're naturally, I don't want to say scared, but you're naturally going to be apprehensive or on edge.
Right.
Because you're like, your brain is naturally going to go, I don't know what's going on.
Fear
I
of the
feel
unknown.
like I'm not
Yeah.
supposed to be
Yeah.
seeing this.
Yeah.
But it's still in front of you. So you're just like having to deal.
Yeah. Trying to like rationalize what you're seeing.
I don't know. I think there was a part of me that just maybe assumed that I was just making it up because nobody else was talking about experiencing it.
Right.
Now I know that other people in my family were experiencing things in addition
Oh,
to
that's
myself.
really interesting.
Yes.
And they were also practicing Baptists.
Yes.
Wow, that's really interesting.
Yes. So my dad, not so much. I don't know that he ever experienced like spirits and stuff. He did spend time with his mom looking for ETs for the government, but that's not as
What?
spiritual.
Ma'am,
Whoa.
that's insane.
My family has a really weird lore.
Mine is like, oh, don't go near Uncle Bobby. He's still on parole.
Yeah.
It's a little different.
Yeah, he decided to drop that on me as I was walking out the door to work one day, and I was just like, I'm sorry, hold on.
Mm-hmm.
What? French toast?
But yeah, so it wasn't always comfortable because you don't have anybody to talk to about this. Like I think people forget this was the early 2000s, late 90s.
Mm-hmm.
So the internet wasn't really a thing yet.
Yep.
And the people you had to talk to were the people in your community, like physically. And I was homeschooled.
Oh,
So I had
jeez.
cows.
Oh, Ariel.
Like,
No
I mean,
resources, nothing to
nothing.
like, you know,
Right,
go out there and,
right.
and see if you were, you know, normal.
Yeah.
Like if what you were
So-
seeing was normal. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I'm living in the middle of 80 acres of cow fields, homeschooled, going to church, being taught about, you know, God and Christianity and things. The only exposure I have to the quote unquote secular world is when I go to the store, when I go to play practice, when I go, you know, to visit someone, or I'm out in public. And those aren't really spaces that stuff like that gets talked about.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, how do you drop that
nobody's
in the
gonna
grocery store
Yeah,
line?
nobody's gonna
Hey.
come up to you in the grocery store and be like, hey, by the way.
I also see a dead guy right next to you. Yeah. Besties.
Yeah. And then we had The Sixth Sense come out. So now everybody's afraid of that.
Oh my
So
gosh.
now when I'm telling people, hey, I can see dead people, they're like, oh, you saw the movie too. And I'm like, no, I can actually see dead people. So it's like, it was just the perfect storm of, you're too young to know what you're actually experiencing. So you must have a imaginary friend, or you're dreaming.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I got old enough to be listened to, then it was like, oh, what's the movies you're watching?
Right.
Because obviously I was very drawn to occult films and paranormal thrillers and stuff like that, because I was like, this is so relatable. This is my life, right?
And
But everybody's just like, oh, it's just the movies you're watching,
yeah,
things
I was gonna
like
say,
that.
the influence from the outside world. Yeah.
That's why
Mhm.
Dayelle wasn't even allowed to watch the Babysitters Club.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And my mom, I would say, was a lot more open and understanding to those things than I think other people would be, due to the fact that she herself has had many experiences over her lifetime of seeing angels and things like that around me. But also having those experiences prior to having children. So she was a lot more understanding about it, even though she grew up Catholic and then converted to more like Baptist Christian,
Mm-hmm.
you know, not Catholicism.
Yeah.
Which if I had to choose one, I would probably choose Catholicism, because it's more occult. At least I get to keep my incense.
I was just gonna say, and we love an
I
incense.
love the smell. of
We
incense.
love to pray to saints. I
Yeah.
mean,
You love your
we
candles.
really do love a candle.
But-
And outfits. We love to change the outfits.
Yeah.
Yeah, you wear those like fancy robes. Like,
Yeah.
But you know, everything that you're saying right now is not giving me witch vibes, you know, and I'm thinking the stereotypical witches, right?
mhm.
Pointed hats, like you said,
Ronald
with-
Dahl's witches, the witches.
I
yeah.
mean practical magic, you know,
People
stuff
eat
like that.
children.
So
Mhm.
so how is what you're saying? How does that translate to witch?
I grew up with Kiki's Delivery Service
Yeah.
and movies like The Worst Witch. I don't know if anybody has ever watched
I
that.
know that movie.
It's
Yes.
real cute.
It's
It's
adorable.
so
cute.
cheesy. It's so cheesy. It's
so
so
cute.
bad quality, but it's
Yes.
so endearing.
Yep.
Loved that. I also grew up with the TV show Medium.
Mm-hmm.
And
Ooh.
what else? I didn't watch Practical Magic until I was in my teens. And I didn't watch The Craft until I was in my 20s, almost 30s.
I just watched it this year,
I-
so you're,
It's okay.
you're
The Craft is I don't want to say it's a
Well,
bad
it's very-
movie.
When you
Dark
watch
side.
it when you're 9,
Yeah.
Yeah.
then it
Oh,
becomes
it's
your whole
badass.
personality.
Yeah.
I would steal my mom's eyeliner and try to line
try
my
to
lips
be
at the
it.
bus stop. And then very kindly the bus driver would be like, honey, you should wipe that
Yeah.
off, honey.
But I guess that's not. I'm not. Let me rephrase my question then. I like all the stuff that you're saying. You know, I'm picturing. When I think witches, I think spell casting. I think I don't know. I guess that's really like the big one, spell casting. And the stuff that you're saying right now is more about seeing spirits.
So with witchcraft is one aspect of being a witch. Being a witch is like an umbrella term. There are witches who never practice witchcraft. Like they never do a spell, they never do a ritual, but it's mostly based in animism, which is just the belief that everything has a sentience to it. But there's also witches who have a very active spell crafting practice within their witchcraft. For me, spell casting is something that I go through seasons with. I feel like when I'm doing a lot of inner work, I'm wanting to do more spell work because I feel like doing something outwardly that reflects what I'm doing inwardly is something that can help me to feel like my energy is more aligned with the result that I'm looking for. It's also, of course, something that I do more in the sense of like client sessions. So like doing witchcraft for clients and friends and things like that. But I think the thing that really draws people to witchcraft and being a witch isn't actually being a witch, it's doing witchcraft. Because it's fun, right? Like, I'm not even gonna lie. I'm not gonna say that like putting shit in jars is not fun. Because it is our inner child taking grass and dirt and water and making it in jars and saying, this is a soup and it's the freaking amazingest soup that I've ever created. Like things like that. I think in a mundane sense, witchcraft is really us allowing our inner child to express itself in a way that is accepted in an adult world.
And then can you break down Death Witch and I'm going to say it wrong again. Demonolator?
Demonolatry.
Son of a beast. I'm going to get it someday.
Demonolator.
So, and I'll go through the definitions of that as well. So a death witch is going to change, or the definition is going to be slightly different depending on the person you talk to, because death witchery for someone might mean that they do primarily workings to cause sickness or death for people, right? Ooh. There's probably a death witch out there that is their definition of it. There are other people who are mediums, but they don't practice witchcraft, that people might consider a death witch, but they're not really practicing. So it's not really a witch, right? They're not really practicing witchcraft. For me, death witchery is the definition of someone who works with the energies of death and transformation in their practice and their life, meaning that you welcome and help others to the best of your ability to navigate death in their lives and death in your own life. And it doesn't mean that you're not going to be upset. It doesn't mean that you're not going to be depressed. It doesn't mean that the grief or the transition is going to be any easier, but it's a different approach to it in the sense of this is something that I'm dealing with, and instead seeing it as a companion that you walk with. So for me, death is not a thing, it's a being. So I work with death deities like Hel from the Nordic pantheon, or Azrael, Archangel Azrael, or Dun from the Celtic pantheon, things like that. So working with death deities is essentially saying, I know that there's a transformation that needs to happen in my life, whether it's a breakup or losing a job or moving, or maybe feeling like you've just disconnected from yourself and now you're having to grieve losing the person you were before and moving into the person you are now. I really love to define transitions and what I like to consider transformational times in people's lives through different definitions. And most of the time it's either a butterfly transformation, a frog transformation, or a snake transformation. Ooh. And all of these have to do with death, but in different ways. So oftentimes I feel like as children, sometimes as adults, we go through butterfly transitions, which is transitions or deaths in our lives where we go into a stasis for a while, essentially the quote unquote cocoon, if you will. So you have this outward expression of self. And then you go through a time where you're just kind of introspective, hermiting, like spending time to yourself, kind of spending time away from people. And then you reemerge as this beautiful butterfly. And then the cycle starts all over again. Then there's the frog transformations, which I think that a lot of people go through in their teen years and also later in their lives as well, which is where you're having to do everyday life stuff. You're having to still function while a transformation is happening. So a tadpole never stops and goes into a stasis or any kind of chrysalis or anything. They just live their everyday lives. And one day, all of a sudden, they can like be on land for a while, but also in water. And then it happens over time. And sometimes we don't even notice that we're a frog one day until we're like, oh, shit, I haven't been in the water in like weeks. Dang. So it's that kind of transformation where you're having to function while transforming. And snake transformations is where it is self-initiated. You feel that restriction in your life of that, dead skin, if you will, of that thing that you need to shed because you're like, I'm feeling trapped. My world feels like it's going like this, and I need to break away from it. So metaphorically, we put ourselves between a rock and a hard place so that we can pull that old skin off and step into this new phase. None of them are comfortable, but all of them are deaths and transformations that are different types, different initiations, and different experiences that all bring us power through the different ways that we experience it. So death witchery is taking that and utilizing it in your practice and your life. It is saying, I realize that death is a constant, so I'm going to work with it instead of running from it. In addition, of course, there's the necromancy part of my death witchery, which is working with spirits, working with the dead, giving them death rights if they don't feel that they were able to have their life acknowledged in the way that they wanted it to be when they were alive. So there will sometimes be spirits who come through in my dreams or something like that, show me their life, show me how they passed, and then I'm able to do a working for them to have a spell working that kind of, I don't want to say facilitates a crossing over, because I don't think any spirits are actually stuck or need assistance with that. I think they just don't know how all the time. But I do think that it's important to celebrate someone's life and celebrate someone's experiences, and or just acknowledge them and say, I'm sitting with it, I'm here, I hear you, and this is working to celebrate that and give you peace as you move forward. So in a lot of ways, death witchery is really just, I think, accepting the shadows of life and accepting that the heaviness that we experience and grief that we experience in everyday life can be celebrated just as much as the happiness and the joy and the growth, because there is growth that can happen through grief. It's just not as comfortable.
I feel like it's not talked about either, right? Like death is kind of like, we just put that in a little box and tuck it away. Let's
Yes.
not. And so like, making it something that is beautiful and it's a part of life. It's a season of life. It's a change that's, whatever it might be. I think that was beautiful. That was a beautiful way to explain it.
So with the death witchery, you're working with people that are alive going through these phases of life, correct? But with the necromancy part, are you saying that you're working with spirits who haven't crossed over?
I don't want to say I haven't crossed over, because it's, for me, in my own personal beliefs, which I don't expect anybody else to believe the same thing. Like, everybody has different beliefs. But for me, spirits are never truly stuck. So like a lot of people say, oh, I'm worried that my mom passed and she's stuck on the other side and she hasn't crossed over because we're having these experiences, right? We're having these paranormal things happening in our space and we think it's my mom. And what I've found in the interactions with spirits that I've had is that typically, if they haven't actually gone over to the spirit realm from our realm, then they won't know that there isn't any judgment there. So if you, in my understanding, the spirits, when they pass away and they disconnect from the physical body, they still hold the beliefs and understandings of life and spirit that they had when they were in their physical body until they go to the spirit realm. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh, wait, I understand how everything works. But until they do that, they don't really understand. Now, if you grew up, like, let's say that I died.
We'll miss you.
And I'm a spirit now, and I haven't crossed over yet, but I'm just like, oh, wait, shit. What if Christianity is real? And like, I go into the light or whatever, and then I go to hell. You know what? I'm just going to stay here.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why we have spirits who are angry, who are sad, who are restless because they don't really want to be here, but they're too scared to go over because they don't know what to expect. And oftentimes when people have their spirits separate from the physical body, they will have a member of their family who's passed, or a pet, or a spirit guide, or things like that will come and meet them and help them through that initial process of like witnessing the funeral and, you know, things like that, processing. But they still have to be the one to make the decision, I'm going to, you know, go through this process. But once they go through that process, they can come back and forth however many times they want. Like they can visit whenever. So,
but their mindsets change now when they come back because they know there's safety on the other side, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, the fear is gone.
And how did you learn all of this? Like, what was the
Talking
process?
to dead people.
Oh, they walked you through it.
It's incredible.
Wonderful. They're great teachers.
That or chatting with
That's going to be you.
That might be me one day.
Yeah.
I'm going to have a little ghost class.
Oh my god.
Gather around.
What to
children.
expect when you die.
Yeah.
But yeah, in a lot of ways, I would also say that death witchery is very similar to death doula.
Yes,
Because-
I just learned about death doulas.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what is
Yes, very similar to a birth doula in the sense of like helping someone through the last stages of their pregnancy,
Yeah.
helping them through the birth stage, helping them with the postpartum. With death doulas, they do that for people who are passing or their families.
Mm-hmm.
So they help to prep the people for death, help them to, you know, feel
be
as comfortable
afraid.
with it as they can.
Yeah.
And facilitate that comfort during that time, and then help them process everything and help them go through the steps afterwards so that they're not just kind of like, oh, they died, okay, bye. You know, like they have someone to help support them through that.
What a gift that is that you do
Right?
to give to people, though. Because, you know, I mean, I'll just speak for myself as someone who's lost two animals, very, like, you know, soul animals. I have a friend who also practices witchcraft and said to me, like, you really should reach out to an animal communicator because if you're unsure about where they are or they're, you know, if you feel them around you, chances are you do. But if you need some reassurance, essentially like a death witch or an animal communicator could help you with that. And like, what a gift that must be to give grieving people.
Oh yeah, there's animal spirits everywhere, all the time. I have my one cat from my childhood that visits me all the time.
Oh,
She actually jumped up on my bed the other day. I felt it, like physically saw it and felt it. The bed, like, you know how cats, when they jump, like it's almost like they just levitate and then just like land.
Fair.
It was like that. And then I could feel like the four little like tiny little tippy tappies.
Yeah.
And then the weight of her laying down next to me. It was very sweet. And I was like, obviously you're not here physically, but like, hi.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, and I've had other mediums as well say that, you know, they've seen spirits cross over and seen them meeting their pets on the other side. So like, if you've lost a pet, they do go to heaven. They do go to the other side. Like, I don't care what your pastor says. They're there.
With something like this, is there anything that, like, you could tell someone that knows nothing about this world that is dangerous and you should be aware of? Like, there's a level of, like, respecting, you know, the dead or the undead, and then just the process of, you know, contacting someone that is in this, like, in between, or, you know, I also, like, always worry about people being taken advantage of like a situation where, you know, someone might say that they're talking to someone that they love, but in reality, they're just kind of using that person's pain as a way to, like, you know, make money, or, you know, that in that world.
Right.
But, like, listening to you, it feels so much more about just helping the not necessarily the person on Earth, but the other person that's trying to, you know, go to the next place.
I think when you're wanting to find what we would consider in the industry ethical mediums, or ethical practitioners, I like to look for people who are able to clearly state it. So whether that's like on their website, or they're able to explain that to you in a session and be like, these are the ways that I approach sessions. This is what I'm comfortable with. This is what I'm not comfortable with. Things like that. When someone understands their own boundaries within their own practice, I think that's a good sign. But I think with mediumship specifically, something that you want to be aware of is that it's very easy for someone who is grieving to be wanting so badly to have an experience with their loved one who has passed, that they will be giving information to the medium without realizing it.
Yes.
So when you're getting a mediumship session, regardless of who it's from, you should never have to give them a photo. You should never have to give them a name. You should never have to give them an obituary. You should never have to give them any kind of information other than, I am wanting to reach someone who has passed for me, or I'm wanting to reach my grandmother, or I'm wanting to reach my father, or something like that, if you're wanting to reach someone specific. Because you might not have their name come through in the session, but the medium should be able to gather information from the spirit that is able to confirm to you that they are who they say they are, without the medium having any way of looking at that information themselves.
Right.
Because if you give them a name or a nickname, guess what? They're able to find your Facebook. They're able to find an obituary. They're able to find
Good tip.
all types of information. You give them a photo, they're able to Google track that. They're able to find an obituary from that, or a Facebook profile. Like, there's so many ways that people can scam people through fake mediumship sessions that it is something to be aware of. But you shouldn't need to disclose information in order to have an impactful experience with the medium. It shouldn't have to be that way. And it should be with death witchery and witches, it can be a little bit more difficult because it's not really something that you can always get confirmation for in that sense. Like with mediumship, where you're gathering information that they would know about, but that you wouldn't. It's more so of maybe you're getting a tarot reading about a situation or something. And if it feels accurate for you, if it feels like it makes sense and it makes you feel empowered, or it makes you feel like you have a way forward, green flag. If your reading leaves you confused, if your reading makes you feel really scared and anxious, if it leaves you feeling really like terrified and panicked, that is something that, you know, obviously as a business owner, I would always wish that someone would reach out and be like, hey, I don't quite understand. Can you clarify? Right. But I also think that if it's leaving you feeling that way, take it as something of, that person just wasn't able to connect to my energy the way that they needed to. Because here's the thing, regardless of who you see, whether it's a medium, a witch, a spiritual practitioner, you know, a Reiki practitioner, whoever it is, there's still a person. There's always going to be human, like, we're fallible, right? So there's never going to be 1,000% accuracy. They might pick up on your grandma's energy, but they might see her with red hair when she had brown hair.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it ultimately, I think, comes down to the person getting the session and getting the reading. How do you feel afterwards? Do you feel at peace? Do you feel empowered? Do you feel that it makes sense for you right now? And if it doesn't, then it was an experience you had, and that can be shelved.
Right.
Now, not to say that every reading you get or every interaction you get should always leave you feeling super positive and super empowered, because shadow stuff comes up, right? You might have a reading where they're like, wow, you have a really toxic pattern in relationships. You need to fix that shit.
Yeah.
And that's
Don't wanna hear
uncomfortable.
that.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
still
like-
true.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, thank you. So that kind of stuff you might not want to hear. And that might change your view of the reading and the session because of that. So there has to be a willingness going in to be open to the experience,
And
because
can you tell that from someone's energy pretty quickly? Yeah.
it's like hitting a freaking wall.
I always get told from people when, you know, like I love getting my tarot cards read. I love this stuff. I've always grown up with a very curious mom and aunts that on my stepfather's side that said that they're clairvoyants. But one thing that my family hated about them is they would offer information without asking if it was okay that they shared it to people, which is very, very uncomfortable when you're out to eat with your family and your aunt just gets up and walks over to a lady and says like, oh, your mother that just died, 2 hours ago wants you to know she's crossing over. Like, that's not okay.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Boundaries.
they have a really bad habit about that. And I just think it's also very, I soak it all up. I'm bad at this. Like, you can scam me so easily because I'm like, yes, you are right. I am going to be a long haul truck driver. I don't know how I didn't put that on my resume. This is going to happen
That's
for
crazy.
me.
You're like, new path in life.
Yeah.
Sure, sign me up.
Do you ever deal with that where spirits come through and they're trying to force you to communicate with someone?
Oh yeah.
I mean, like, I'm not
Yeah.
putting you on the spot, but like
No. Like
or bad energy, scary
Yeah,
energy. Is that
yeah,
where the
I
other
was just gonna ask that,
demonate?
yeah.
I'm gonna mess it up.
Demonology.
Yeah.
where that
Okay.
comes in?
Let's go through the definitions of demonolatry really quick.
Yes.
I feel like-
Oh yeah, we didn't get there.
Sorry,
yet.
we're so into this right
That
now.
was
The
my
three of
next
us are
question.
locked
Okay.
in.
A demonolator is, or sometimes the other term people use that is more used by femme presenting people tends to be dominolatress. But demonolator is the classic general term that people use. And that is someone who works with the energies of demons and / infernals in their practice and their life, things like that. So they might make agreements with them, or that's going to terrify the Christians. I'm so sorry.
That's fine. They're not here.
I was gonna say
I don't think they're listening to this podcast anyway. I think you're fine. We scared them away 3 seasons ago.
Yeah.
You're like, we dropped that bomb early
Yeah,
on.
we did that.
When I told them Christmas wasn't December 20 or Jesus' birthday wasn't December 25th, I think they immediately turned us off.
Logged us
So-
off.
Well, because
you're
listen,
done.
a Capricorn is not going to sacrifice themselves for the humanity. Okay, let's be so
I
honest here.
love that.
I think that was the best response I have ever heard in my life.
A Capricorn sun will never do that. Pisces sun, listen. As a Pisces sun,
I'm already offering myself to the neck, but there's nothing
Just
here
like,
yet.
here we
I'm
go.
ready to offer.
yeah. So a demonolator is just someone who works with the energies of daemons, infernals, etc. So I try not to call them demons because I associate
Is that an
with
offensive
like the,
term?
and not really. It's just something that personally I connect with, like Christian ideas of demons.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Whereas really what we see when we look at what I consider infernals, because honestly, it just sounds more badass.
Yeah, Infernals does. It's very supernaturally.
It
Yeah,
sounds like
yeah.
inferior to me, though.
Infernals?
That could be the
that-
case.
I'm
Yes.
thinking
That's because we were raised
inferior.
Catholic.
Yeah.
That's why.
It's very
yes.
deeply rooted.
Yeah.
But also, like, the term daemon is from the Greek beliefs, so that's just a powerful spirit,
Mhm.
Yeah.
not even related to any kind of like underworld or anything. So, what they're called by people is, different. There are some people who work as a demonolator with infernals as spirits, so seeing them more as like deities. And then there's also other people who see them more as representations of different aspects of the self. So they work with them as more so of,
Spiritual enneagrams.
yeah, like representations of, this is a being that represents passion, and this is a being that represents anger, and things like that.
It actually sounds very similar to voodoo culture.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So there's that approach. Then there's also just demonolatry, which is the practice of working with demons. So that's the practice rather than the person. Then there's demonology, which is the study of demons, but not necessarily someone who works with them. Right. So someone could be a demonologist and know a lot about infernals with the way that they're documented, usually within Salamanic practices.
My ELA brain right now with suffixes and prefixes is going crazy right now. Like everything you're saying, I'm like saying it in my head because I actually have taught this lesson. I was just like, I have done this. Yes, I'm such a good teacher.
Yes. Yeah. So
I did it with biology, not demonology, but whatever. Potatoes and
yeah.
potatoes.
So there's just like different definitions of it, but mostly it just means that you somehow either study or work with infernals /
Are there
demons.
any that you work with regularly? Okay, I
Lucifer.
can't zoom in.
I just really want to be so cool that I can be like,
Lucifer and Astaroth.
Lucy? Love it.
Yeah.
Hot.
Lucifer
That is
has
hot.
been incredible. He's
can you ask him to do some work for us here in the U.S.? Goodness.
hell yeah.
Thank you.
I think
there's been a lot of
technically, I
requests.
think he might already be doing it.
Oh yeah. I mean,
fingers are-
if I know anything about deities, they're already saying like, okay, everybody put down their coffee. We gotta go.
Yeah.
I can't sit back and watch this anymore.
Do they drink their coffee black? I just have to know.
It depends on
Is
the
this a
deity.
poke at me because I
Okay.
do?
It depends on the deity. I know Lucifer really loves Earl Grey tea, and what was the other one? You do like chai. You
Don't do
prefer.
this to me. My
Oh,
butt will
it's
pour.
Astaroth who likes jasmine.
Jasmine.
Yeah.
I would love it if he would to just pull up a chair. Imagine if that
Honestly,
chair right over there
I
just
just
like
was gonna
slid
say that.
up. I would literally
door just
fall
opened.
backwards.
Yeah. I was talking to my therapist yesterday because #therapy is awesome.
Yep.
Sure
And-
is. Absolutely.
Self-love.
And we were talking, and I was mentioning, my self-hatred, and the lamp started moving. Like me.
Was your therapist like, so this is one of the weirder.
No,
sessions?
she's actually a witch too. So she was just laughing. She was
I
like,
want her
"Oh
to
my
be my
gosh, spirits, stop!"
That's amazing.
incredible.
No, it's been incredible and such a game changer. Like, if you are a spiritual person, find a spiritual therapist. Not in the sense of like they're only spiritual, they're not trained as a therapist, like
Right.
someone who's a therapist who also practices, because it's been incredible. Because she's like, oh, okay, we want to do EMDR. Let's use all of your deities as the people that we can bring in your EMDR sessions.
What's
like
EMDR?
incredible. She's like, oh, you have this thing to work on? Try going into meditation. And I'm like, say less, girl.
Define EMDR.
EMDR, I actually just did an episode about this on my podcast with my friend who is also spiritual and uses astrology in her therapy sessions. But EMDR is eye movement recalibration therapy. No, EMDR. Can't remember the exact term, but it's basically where you are taking sound or feelings and doing bilateral things. So sometimes people will have clickers in each hand. And have you ever heard of tapping?
Yes.
It's very similar to that. So essentially, you're going into a session where they are facilitating a safe space mentally for you to be and process trauma. And before you even do that, they set up to where you have safety tools that you can bring in. So maybe you need a nurturing energy, you're going to bring in the mother figure you have. Or maybe you are scared, you're going to bring in a protector energy that you have. So things like that. So you can experience the trauma and the memories again, but with those extra energies in to help you rewire your brain with the memories so that it's less emotionally impactful.
Is this at all, and you totally don't have to have the answer to this, but it feels very similar. I've sat in on a Reiki session. It was not done to me, but I witnessed the person going through a Reiki session, and it was the most intense thing I've ever seen. Is it similar in that aspect where they kind of bring you through all of these hard emotions?
Maybe. I think there is a similar string there with the emotional activation, because massage even can bring up that stuff too. I think and I think that's also why tapping is so effective, because there's that physical element to it, right? With Reiki, you're kind of moving that energy around with, energy, or with your physical hands, or whatever you're doing. Massage is very similar. EMDR, you have that, simulation of tapping or clicking, or even sound. Sometimes they'll have, clicking in earbuds or something. So it's very similar in that sense, where it's emotionally activating, but so that that person can better process it. Yeah. But I did also ask during that episode, I asked my friend whether or not it could be used for spiritual purposes, like accessing past life memories and things like that. Ooh. And she was like, yeah. And I was like, okay, sign me up.
I want to do that. I'm convinced, by the way, Deena hates water, is terrified of water. And I'm convinced in her past life she drowned in some sort of aspect.
Honestly,
I did almost drown when I was a child, too. So
it's true.
It's also true.
Samesies.
Yeah, I'm not. But also, I forgot to tell you guys this. So I've decided that in order to be on our show, you have to tell a story.
Oh.
I also want to make sure that we get this in. You have to share with us a story of some sort of supernatural experience that still to this day gives you chills.
Besides waking up with kids with no eyes?
Yes, besides that. I need a full story.
How graphic are we allowed to go?
First of all fuck is my favorite word in the world, so you can't.
No, I mean gore.
Oh, yes. Yeah, no, we love that.
Okay.
Give us the gore.
Notice I just looked at them. Whatever they say goes. I'm ready.
They're like, producer.
Grace? No. You can echo again, God.
God, what does thy say?
Tell the girls.
Tell the children.
Yeah.
What does Lucifer think? I don't know.
He's like, I don't care.
He's like, I created it.
Yeah.
I was there. All right. This is the experience. I have so many. But the one that keeps coming to mind, which I have shared before, but it still is one of the most impactful experiences in my life. And I think it was the moment that I realized that what I was experiencing wasn't just my mind. When I was, I think 10, I want to say around the age of 9 or 10, a family member shot themselves, and we ended up getting the call. And after they had taken the body away, me and my mother and my sister went to visit their other family that was still living, to just kind of sit with them while, you know, our other family figured things out at the police station, things like that. So I was there. I didn't realize what was going on, right? Me and my sister were just like, oh, we get to see our cousin. Like, we get to, you know, go visit them, blah, blah, blah. So I was like, I want to go see my cousin. And I ran up to their room, which was upstairs from the living space and had carpeted stairs. And it was kind of in a loft area. And I ran up the stairs with my brother, or with my sister. And my socks were getting wet, but I was like, that's fine. That's weird. Like, maybe she spilled water. And we get to the top of the stairs. And I didn't really pay attention to what was in front of me, because I saw her standing across the room from me with a man in a suit. And she looked totally fine. She was just standing with him, and then she disappeared. And at that point, my mom was running up to us and was like, girls, 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 oh my gosh. And what I didn't realize was that there was just a pool of blood at the top of the stairs. And that's why my socks were wet. Sorry.
No, don't apologize.
So I took that experience as just my mind processing what had happened for most of my life, until there was a day that I was visiting with my sister. She and I went to visit another sibling somewhere, and we were talking one night, just kind of catching up. And she was like, do you remember when, you know, so-and-so died? And I said, yeah. And she said, you saw them too, right? And I just had this moment where I was like, yeah. And she was like, the man in the suit. And I was like, yeah.
Wow.
Whoa. Ooh, now we're all crying.
Yeah.
No, I just got I got absolute goosebumps, because to me, the validation of somebody else seeing what I saw would have been everything to me.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that was like, oh my gosh, almost 20 years after.
Mm-hmm.
So for all of that time, like, of course I was having spiritual experiences, and I was, you know, running my business and stuff. But there was always this part of me that was just like, what if I'm just making this shit up? You know,
100%.
like, what if I'm just faking all of it? And when she shared that, I was just like, that isn't even shared psychosis, because we didn't even say anything to each other.
Oh.
Like, we just experienced it.
Mm-hmm.
And that was it.
Thank you for sharing that, Ariel. That was like so powerful. And also, I mean, like you said, very validating. But I think sometimes this is a very easy thing for people to explain away, because it's so much easier to pretend that this is not something that earthside being should be, you know,
right,
dealing with. And I, you know, having grown up in a house where a grandmother practiced Santeria and had spirit guides, and, you know,
so lovely. And
my mom used to, you know, sweetest baby angel on the face of the planet.
Yes.
Used to say to us, you know, like, what your grandmother does is not scary. Like, you don't have to be scared of it. There's nothing scary about what she's doing. This is how she goes through the world, and there's nothing scary about it. And at this point, she was already a lapsed Catholic. But there was a moment where my grandmother told my mother, like, your daughters are very intuitive. They're always going to be able to, very empathetic. They're always going to be able to absorb other people's energies like you do. Mm-hmm. And I remember it was one of those things you heard and just like kind of, you know, brush away. But as I got older, as we've all gotten older, and realized that empaths are kind of perceived as weak. And it's just like, why do you care so much? It has nothing to do with you. Having that validation that, like, that's not a bad thing for you. That's not a bad thing, what you and your sister experienced. I know what it did for me. I cannot even begin to imagine what that moment was like for you and your sister.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it is really one of those things where when I've told therapists and psychologists, they're just like, and I'm just like, no. Like, I'm sure there's a part of my brain that was traumatized from it.
Sure.
But for most of my life, like, it makes me emotional because, you know, just the whole experience was sad in the sense of I understand why, but I also sympathize so much as someone who has struggled with, you know, suicidal ideation my entire life. Like, it's a struggle that you deal with every single day. And I have so much compassion for them. But it was also something that I just have never really felt traumatized by. Like, it's always just been a memory that has been good for me rather than scary. And something that I want to share, because I know this will kind of answer a question that you had earlier in the show, was, you know, how do you feel less apprehensive or anxious or scared about interacting with these things? And one of the best quotes, which I wish I knew who said it, I don't, but a quote that I always think of is, you will always be afraid of what you don't understand. You will always be afraid of what you don't understand. So when we think of it that way, and you have tools in your metaphorical toolbox that help you feel safe, whether that is a saint pendant or carrying a rosary with you or carrying a Bible with you or carrying a pentacle or having a deity that you can call on or having an angel you can call on or a guide or, you know, a little tiny pocket spell that you carry with you. Whatever it is that helps you feel safe in having those experiences, I think is more powerful than anybody else doing anything for you, because it's you yourself doing it for yourself. And that's always going to be more effective and more powerful than anybody else, you know, casting protection for you and things like that, which can be helpful. But witchcraft really is about self-empowerment. So it's like, why not use it as a way to say, okay, I'm afraid of this. What can I do?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like,
And I think
yourself.
that's where we see such a contrast between more organized religions, more specifically like more Christianity, and spiritual practices and witchcraft and paganism, is that in organized religions, oftentimes it is not the person taking responsibility for what has happened. It's them saying, I had no control over it. I was influenced. I was pressured. And, you know, if I don't fix it, then I'll be punished. Whereas within spiritual practices and witchcraft and paganism, it's, this happened. How did I contribute? How can I take responsibility for my contributions in this situation so that I can correct it and then leave the rest to the other powers that be?
That's amazing.
And I think
beautiful
that
way.
is so, so important. But I also think that's why a lot of people who are Christian and set in that mindset don't like witchcraft, because it means that they would have to look at themselves, and nobody likes to do that if you're a shit person.
Preach, girl.
Not to say that all Christians are shit.
No,
okay.
I know exactly what
But
you're
like,
saying. When they use it
to
as a
see
crutch
yourself
for their
in the
shit.
mirror for who you truly are
Yeah.
is only something you can do when you're not afraid of what you're going to see.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You've given us so much of your time, over an hour.
Oh
But,
my gosh, no. I've done podcast interviews that have been like 6 hours long before.
oh, don't tempt us. You're coming to New York, baby. I do just want to push people kind of to what you do, and because I did give your stuff, or we all gave your stuff a pretty thorough rundown in our excitement for you. But if you could just tell people where to find you, what you offer, because I know that once they hear this episode and hear what you stand for and how you approach your business, I think a lot of people are going to feel really compelled to work with you and reach out with you.
Yeah.
That
Reach
would
out
be
to you.
beautiful. And I'm excited that there will be people who maybe feel drawn to that. I currently am on a little bit of a hiatus with work, only because I just have been wanting to do like a lot of really deep shadow work and introspective work with my therapist and things like that. I have a night shift warehouse job that's slowly killing me. And so I haven't had as much time for my practice or my business, but it's also given me a chance to kind of rework everything and refresh everything, because I want it to be more aligned with what I want to be doing in my work. And I feel like I'm needing to refresh things. So while I'm not offering sessions right now, I do also have a website. I do also offer paranormal investigation in the New York area, Massachusetts area.
Wait, you're close to us?
She's
I'm
up in
in
the
Albany.
Albany area, correct?
Shut the front door. We are coming for a sleepover.
Listen, tell me where to go. I will join any investigation.
Yes.
Like, not even joking.
Deena got followed home with a boo hag from
Charleston.
Charleston. So
Mm-hmm.
we could have really used you.
We're good. It was a couple years ago.
We
We're
could have
fine.
really used
Yeah.
you.
Okay. Well, if you ever have attachments, you can always just text me and be like, yo, girl.
Technically, I do right now in Queens. So if you ever want to come over, you could chill with
Listen,
my
I've
spirit.
got
Yeah.
a car that is also a little bit haunted. She's my little Herbie. I will come right down.
All right.
I'm not even joking. I went over a bad pothole once and I apologized to her and she immediately turned the music up. She was like, girl, shut up.
Yeah.
I love her.
That's
She
so
is
I
like a
love her.
Herbie.
Like, this is my
I
jam.
literally
Just
love her
forget
so
it.
much. And like she has the little like automatic unlock. So when every time I walk up to the door, she's like, beep, beep. It's so cute. I love it. I love it.
Also, your TikTok is great.
Yes, I have a TikTok.
I
so
learned so much.
so sorry. I have ADHD, so I rabbit
So
trail
does
so
everyone
much.
sitting at this table.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So if you go to arielwillow.com, that's my website. I have links to everything on there, the podcast, the Patreon, things like that. Or if you're wanting to find all of my links, it's just arielwillow.com/links. And that will take you to all of the different links, resources I have. I also have free mental health resources for people if you need it.
Amazing.
Since life is hard. But yeah, I also like have been posting updates once a month through my email list and my Patreon, just to kind of keep people up to date and say like what's going on, when new sessions are coming, things like that. So yeah,
Amazing.
anything there. But also if you have any questions or you just want to share something, like my email is always open. I really encourage people to know that there is a place to just talk about things or spiritual experience dump if they need it. But there's also the Discord as well, which is an amazing community of people who practice and so supportive, so beautiful. So if you're looking for a supportive community that's a little bit quiet but there for you, the Discord is also great
Love
too.
that.
Awesome.
Also, side note, thank you for being outspoken about your support of the LGBTQIA and
Of
trans
course.
community.
Yeah.
It's so important, especially right now. So thank you for being vocal
Yes.
about that.
I think it's important, and I would want to know that the person that I'm working with is open to that too. As someone who is bi, like I just don't think there's any reason to be quiet about support for that, because they can't take us all.
Yeah, you would think, but you know,
Eh.
yeah,
Well, at least we'll all be working together.
that's true. Exactly.
We have a death witch on our side.
Yeah, we're good.
We're good.
You're in now.
I mean, I won't like. Okay,
Ooh, hot take. I'm ready. I'm ready.
I'm not against hexing the government.
Yes.
I just need to know that like I have like 100 other people doing with me.
Yeah. This is just a little fun fact.
We don't have to air those.
No, it's fine. I live on a lake in the Catskills, and my fiance and I were sitting at the lake. There's like a little sandbar, and there's 4 women sitting there in their beach chairs, just ripping darts, smoking cigarettes, drinking
Hell
out of their
yeah.
big Stanley cups. And what's your initial thing? Is like I said to him, I said, "Oh gosh, there's Karens next to us. I hope we don't piss them off," you know, like. And then all of a sudden, you just hear them dropping F-bombs, and the woman's like, I'm going to die soon anyway. I've got cancer. I'm going to go out like a star. I'll take that motherfucker right out myself. And she turned around, she's like, oh, I'm so sorry. I said, oh, no, girl, you keep going. We're on your side.
You're like, more, please. I want to hear the whole plan. And all the details.
My fiance was like, it's like a little lake coven.
Yes.
Yeah,
What lake were you at? Because I go to Sleepy Hollow Lake all the time.
Stop.
So,
We're gonna be really good friends.
I'm telling you, I literally
Deena worked at the Sleepy Hollow Cemetery doing tours.
Yes, I do.
shut up.
Are you gonna go when the witches do the paddleboarding?
What is that?
I will send you information,
Oh.
girl.
Okay, good, because
Group
I
trip,
want
group
it.
trip.
I want it. No, literally,
us.
like I literally am so cool with like driving anywhere. Like if there's ever a time where you're just like, hey, we want to
So
do
witchy weekend?
a Halloween
Yeah.
event where we all get
Yes.
together and do an
Let's do
investigation
it.
at this place, like tell me, I will be there.
And I will.
Goosebumps.
I was gonna take these guys around the Sleepy Hollow. I mean, Amanda and I actually did a
Yes.
2-hour tour. Of
I
the
want to
Sleepy-
visit Sleepy Hollow so bad.
Yeah, I mean,
We should do it.
We did
Ariel,
the
come
tour,
with
and that's
us.
eventually what led me to get the job at the cemetery because I was just like, I love it here so much. But yeah, we're
You're
gonna
like,
go
I
do
love
another-
dead people.
I do love dead people. I walked in every morning.
Same.
I was like, "Good morning, everyone." You know, I didn't see them like you might, but I wanted them to know I came.
Imagine
Good morning,
them being
everybody.
like-
How did everybody rest?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ariel's gonna be like, Deena, just a heads up. So they said you're a little loud for
Yeah.
this early in the morning.
They say to keep it down because it's only 6 a.m.
They haven't had
That
their
is-
coffee yet.
That is probably true. Yeah, I get that a lot.
I something that's been interesting is working the warehouse job. Like, it's not that I didn't expect ghosts to be there, but I just didn't think about it until I was like, I'm on this industrial pit machine in this warehouse, and all of a sudden I just see this person standing there, and I'm like moving out of the way, and everybody else is just like, what the fuck is going on? And I was just like, shit, that was a dead person.
Oh my gosh.
That can't be
Did you
good.
look at them and be like, ma'am or sir, not to assume your pronouns, but why are you here? It is miserable.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just like, do you want to hop on? Like,
This is not the place to stay, bro.
I didn't know at the time until I heard later that there have been like, people who have passed at those places. Not that like they can only be at those places if they've passed there, but you know what I mean. So
Yeah.
it makes me wonder that maybe they just kind of stuck around because they're like, I don't know where else to go.
They're
Yeah.
clocking in for their shift.
It-
Yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, like maybe they're doing that so that they can actually pay me rent.
Fair. That's
Oh,
fair.
touche.
Like you
But
said,
yeah.
times are hard.
Times is hot.
Times are hard even for the ghosties.
Yeah,
That's right.
That's so sad.
Well, thank you so much. This was
Of
so much
course.
better than we were excited, but this was so much better than I thought it was going to be. And like,
Agreed.
I didn't think it could be any better than my brain created, but you are amazing.
Absolutely wonderful.
And this is not the end of this.
Yeah, and
You're
thank you.
Good.
Thank you for your
Good.
openness with all of our questions.
Of course. No, I listen, I'll answer any question. I don't always answer it well, but I'll answer it.
well, I'm definitely going to reach out to you about Sleepy Hollow. So
Yeah. That would be
Good.
so fun.
Good. Very excited to hear from you.
absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ariel.
Of
You are the
course.
best.
Have a great rest of your day,
All
and
right,
thank
you
you
too.
so much for this.
Bye. Bye.